Hey guys, today I'm going to be teaching you a PSD to HTML conversion process. So let's take a look at how this is going to be. First thing you're going to notice is I have an htdocs folder here. I've created one called tutorials, and this is where we're going to begin. So the first tutorial, we are going to call this conversion. And inside of this is where we are going to be working. So one moment. First thing we want to do is go to google.com, type in free PSD website templates, and let's just grab any template here for demonstration purposes. So I went to this site. I've already downloaded this template. It's called PI roll or Pi roll. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. So you want to do is click here. Go ahead and click where it says download free PSD. Once you have it downloaded, it should appear in your downloads folder. Here's mine. We've got a PSD folder inside of there, and here's the actual PSD. So I'm going to open this up in Photoshop, and we are going to begin the conversion process. So now the first thing that you notice is I don't have the fonts that come with this specific PSD. So what you can do is start going on Google, searching for whatever fonts it is. In this particular case, it's Work Sans Regular. So what I want to do is go to Google, type in Work Sans Regular. And these are the fonts. You should be able to download it here at Font Squirrel. And this would be for another tutorial. So I am not going to do it now, but what I want to do is continue with the PSD conversion piece of it. So I'm just going to go here where it says don't resolve. And the first thing that I do notice here is in this design, we have 12 pink columns that just go up and down, all right? So this is actually our grid. If we take it off, it's going to be the actual template here. So what we want to do here is we want to begin by creating all of the necessary HTML for the PSD template. In order for us to do this, we would need to break it down into different sections. So this would be one section. That's the header section. Then we're going to make another section. Let's pretend this is the following section, and this would be a slider, for instance. So that would be the slider section. Then we have the about section, and you get the idea. There's a bunch of different sections. So what we want to do initially is open up our IDE. In this case, I am going to be using WebStorm. Oops, there it is. Just give it a moment. It's going to load up. Okay, so we're going to hit open. We are going to navigate to our folder, tutorials, conversion, open. Now just wait. And there it is. Great. So the first thing we want to do is we want to create a index.html file. So let's call this index. We are going to give it a very simple title of conversion tutorial. And this is where we begin. So this alone, if we visit our localhost /conversion, it's not found because it's /tutorial/conversion. Oh, tutorial within S, I'm sorry. Okay. And there it is. So we have our conversion tutorial page set up and ready to go. So the first thing we want to do is we want to create a folder called CSS. This is where all of our CSS is going to be. The following thing we want to do is create a style sheet, and let's call it reset.css. And the reason we need a reset, which we're going to Google here, Google CSS reset. Now let's find a reset. This one here will do. So we just want to copy all of this. Copy, paste, and we have our CSS reset. The reason we want to do our CSS reset is because the browser has default styling, and we want to get rid of all of the default styling and just reset it. So first we need to include our style sheet, which is going to be css/reset.css. So now if I did something like h1 high, you are going to see that h1 high is all the way at the very beginning with 0 margin, 0 padding, and it is a basic text size of probably around 12 pixels or so. If we did not have this, let me comment this out, you see the browser has a default style for the h1 tag. So this is why we need the reset. Now the following step is we're going to be importing Bootstrap and making use of Bootstrap. So we need to go to getbootstrap.com. We need to hit get started, and then copy this link, or just click copy. We're going to paste that here. And we want to copy their JavaScript, or just click copy here. And we're going to paste that at the bottom right before the body closes. So this is going to give us access to all of the Bootstrap classes. And you can check that out in your own time if you are not familiar with Bootstrap. So let me close this out now. And the first thing that we would like to do here before we actually proceed with the markup is we want to create another CSS file, and we are going to call this file helpers.css. So the reason we have helpers.css, and we need another one, by the way, it's called main.css. So let me just call this one main.css. Great. Now in our helpers.css, we are going to actually put different helpers. So let's just make a little comment, and we're going to say text helpers. And then here we can create a class and call it text center. And this sole purpose of this class is to be a text alignment of center. This one we want to create text, I don't know, let's call this text left. Well, you know what? Let's not even do text left. Let's just leave text center. This is the first class. And we're going to have another class here. We are going to say text white. So this is going to give us a color of white whenever we want to use this class. And just to make it readable, I'm going to do this and leave it like that. And then let's just say maybe we want to do text dark. You can give it a color of black. Text aqua. And now this is when we're going to jump into our PSD. Where's my Photoshop? Here it is. We're going to get the eyedropper tool. It's right here. I'm going to select the color. We're going to grab the hash, which is this down here. Whoops. And this hash is going to be here. There it is. So these are just little helpers that I've created. Now, the first thing we want to do here is we want to make up our different sections. So by us looking at the PSD, we are going to see that we've got a certain amount of spacing from the very beginning. So if we do this, let me turn on the grid here and you'll see. From the very beginning to the top of the logo, we have a about 38 pixels, you see in the height. So this is very important for us. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're just going to make this section, or not even, we're going to call this header. By using HTML5, it's much more readable. Anyway, we're going to say header, and inside of this header, we've got a left side, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns, and a right side, which is another 6 columns. So what we can do here in this particular case is we can actually say div, create a row, and then we're going to say div again, and then we're going to say column MD6, which is basically stands for the 6 columns that we have here, the pink columns. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now inside of there, we want to have another div, which is going to have a class of logo. And this is going to contain the actual logo. So we're going to create an image folder, and we're going to say logo.png. We're going to give the alternate tags logo. And then we need to create another div with a class of colMD6 as well, which is going to be the second half. And this is where the navigation is going to be. So if we look at the PSD, we have a navigation of home, about, work, process, services, testimonials, and contact. So this is where we want to have our navigation. So let's create a navigation tag. Inside that, we create an unordered list. We're going to give the class of nav on the unordered list. We're going to have list items. And then inside of the list items, we have anchor tags. And it's going to say home. Then the next one should be about. Following should be work. And then process. Services. Whoops. Testimonials. And contact. So we've just created the HTML markup for this particular section here. We want to wrap a row, this particular row, inside of a wrapper. That's the final thing that we are going to do here. So let me just take all of that, and we're going to paste it inside of here. And this is our wrapper. So we can give this a class of wrapper MD, for example. So if we go into our helpers here, at the very top, I am just going to add another comment here, and I'm going to say wrappers. And here we're going to say wrapper MD, and this is going to have, let's just say, some type of padding. Let's just say we are going to give it 38 pixels from the top and from the bottom, and then 0 pixels from the right and the left. Okay, so now the next section that we want to do, just so we know, let's just create some comments here. Begin header section and header section. And now we're going to move on to the following section. So we are going to call this section the slider section. So begin slider section and slider section. And now inside of here, we have a section tag. We want to also give it a wrapper. So this div is going to be a class of a wrapper. We can just say wrapper MD, or for now, let's just leave it empty without any class at this time. And then, okay, so here we notice that the slider content is all the way to the right of the page. So you know there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns, and then in the following 6 columns is where we have the content. So what we want to do here is we want to create another div inside of here, give it a class of row, create another div, give it a class of column MD6, and then there's another class we're going to add to it, which in Bootstrap 4, if we go to the getbootstrap.com website and we visit our getting started page, and then over here we type in grid system. The first thing we are going to see here, let's search for offset, is they have added a class called MR Auto, which means margin right automatic. So it's automatically going to do the default. So if we did ML-auto, that means margin left auto, it's automatically going to take those 6 columns on the left side and it's going to offset it so that it's pushing everything onto the right 6 columns. So now here we want to actually do this this piece, this section here. That's what we're going to be typing. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to give another wrapper to wrap our little paragraph text, and then we are going to take this, which is a title. So we're going to say H1 we design and develop. So we design and develop, and then underneath it a paragraph tag. You can just click it and copy it and then paste it. That's our paragraph. And then we got the contact us button underneath that. So we can create a button, give it a class of BTN primary, which is Bootstrap standards. And then we can call it contact us. So if you notice, the first thing I'm doing here is I'm just pretty much creating the markup of the entire PSD without any styling. So I think this is enough for now. Let me create this folder with the image. So we're going to call this IMG. We're going to extract the image from the PSD. So the first thing we want to do is we want to click on the image. Okay, let me click on this image here. Should be in the header. I don't know. Oh, there it is. So it's the logo. I select it by holding Command and clicking here. I copied it because you see it's selected. And now I'm going to File, New. It's automatically there, 31 by 25 from clipboard. I'm going to paste it here, remove the background to make it transparent, export it as a PNG file. So let me go into HT docs, tutorials, conversion, IMG, and we are going to call this logo.png. Save it, and that's it. So now if we actually reload this page, you see we have a sloppy looking website, but we do have in other words, we have an unstyled website. So we have all of the markup that we need for the top section, which is very good. So now if we want to fix this, because I don't want to go through the entire PSD, the way we can do this is very simple. We are actually going to, number 1, include our style sheet. So we're going to say css/main.css, and we are also going to include our helper style sheet. So css/helpers. So by including the helpers, we automatically have the wrapper padding from the top and the bottom. If we inspect the element here, you're going to see that we have padding from the top and the bottom of the header. So now what we want to do is we want to give it another class of container. And what that's going to do is its bootstraps class. It's actually going to push everything to the center, which is very similar to what we have in the PSD. The next thing that we want to do is we want to style the body. So the body should have a background color, and the background color we can get by using the eyedropper, selecting it here, grabbing it. It's E9, E9, E9. We are going to go to the CSS main.css, and we are going to simply say body, background, give it that background color. Let's take a look at what happens. And you see we have the background color. So now we're actually getting somewhere. Now we want to do the styling here for the navigation or the links. So in order for us to do that, we have to go here to our main style sheet, and let's just say nav ul.nav and li, because we are targeting the list item. So the first thing we want to do is we want to give this like a margin right of however many pixels it is. So let's just take this measurement tool, and from there to there we have approximately 32 pixels. Try it again. Yeah, it's approximately 32 or 30. So let's just say 30 pixels. And we're going to reload the page now. So you see, it just gave it some spacing. Next thing we want to do is we want to change this, the logo, we're going to make it column D3. And in this particular case, we're going to give it a column D8. I mean column D9, I'm sorry. So what's going to happen here is 9 plus 3 is 12. So you see it basically did an offset. So this could work, except our nav would have to be pulled to the right. So we're going to give it a class of pull right. See what happens. Whoops, nothing happened. All right, so let's take a look at why. When we inspect the element here on the header, you see this column D3, and then we have this column D9, and then we have this nav, and we're saying, hey, let's pull everything to the right. So it seems that it doesn't want to float to the right, which is okay for now. All right, it's okay for now. Let's continue the conversion. I'm going to get rid of this. Okay, so in this conversion, we're going to notice we have anchor tag, so list item, anchor tag. So we need to affect the color of it, and the color of these of this text is not completely black, I don't think. So we're going to look here. It's 191919. So we're going to paste that here. And then we're going to do nav ul.nav li, and then we are going to affect every anchor tag inside of it, which, by the way, that's where we're supposed to put the color. So let's remove it from here and paste it there. And now we need to copy this here, and we are going to paste it below, and we're going to give it a pseudo of hover. So when we hover over it, we want it to be this color, which is the aqua color, and we are going to grab the hash, paste it in. We have this hash created. So when it's hovered over, it's going to have that. And now we're also going to do a li.active state. We're going to get rid of the hover, and we're saying anything that's active is going to be this color, but we're going to affect the anchor tag inside of it. So let's take a look here. If we give the home page a class of active, and we go back to here, now you notice that we've got the list items converted, except when we hover over it, we have underlining. So we want to do a text decoration of none. That's going to remove the underline. So you see now that we hover over it, it's not underlined anymore. Great. By the way, let's fix this. Let's just keep this as a column D6 for now. This, we're going to make a column D6 as well. And now over here, we're just simply going to remove some padding just to accommodate it a little better. There you go. So now we can move on to the following section. So in this following section, that would be this one right here. We notice that everything's already pushed to the side. We also want to give it some padding. So what we can do down here is we can, number one, we can say container. Give that the class of container, and you're going to notice that it's automatically going to be contained now. So we are getting somewhere. And inside of that, we also want to continue doing the styling. In order for us to do that, we need to grab the font size of the header of the H1s. So when we click OK, the font size is 38 pixels. So here we would have to go type in, well, first of all, let's give this section an ID. So let's call this the slider. So here we can say slider H1. That's going to affect everything inside of here. So we should actually call this, give it a class and call it slider content. So if we go back here, we're going to say slider.slider content H1, and then we're going to say font size is equal to 38 pixels. Oops. And now if we check it out, it changed a little bit. Now we also need to affect this here, 18 pixels. So the paragraph, again, we're just going to copy from here, paste here, and we are going to say paragraph tag, and that is going to be 18 pixels. Okay, and the color is actually a different, whoops, the color is a different color. The color that we are going to choose here is 787878. So let's go here to 787878. Now we're going to test it in the browser, and the color has changed. Now we have this primary button, and this button needs to be changed to the aqua color. So by us going to our helpers, we've got this, we can actually overwrite our primary colors here. So let's just say primary color. I'm going to say btn-primary, and we are going to give that a BG color, background color of 10C pound 10C. Here it is. So that's the aqua color. So now if we reload it, you notice that it's the aqua color. And we are also going to say border, none. We don't want a border. And let's take a look at what else. If we inspect this element here, and we look on the right-hand side, there's also a button class. So we can overwrite this button class. We can take the button class and we can actually overwrite one of the styles here. The style we want to overwrite is probably the padding style. So if we went here and we typed in BTN and then we change the padding, instead of doing 0.5 rems or 0.75 rems, we can actually give it the padding that we like, which we would measure over here. So from here to here, we've got 44, and then from here to here, we have 19. So let's say padding top to bottom would be 20 pixels and left to right 40 pixels. So now if we did that, we've got this bigger button here, and you notice that the site is starting to look much better now, except when we do a hover, it changes color. So what we want to do here is we want to basically affect the hover color, which we can do easily by copying that and saying button primary hover, and we can just keep it like that. So if we did this, we reloaded, nothing happens when we hover over it. Another thing that you're going to notice is everything is in capital letters. So what we want to do here is we want to make everything uppercase. So let's create another helper. We're going to say .text uppercase, and then we're just going to say text transform, and then we are going to say uppercase. So in our HTML, we can go to the button and we can just say text upper, and this uses our class that we just created, and now everything inside of here is uppercase. So that is very effective. And now if we see home, about, work, process, all of this is also uppercase. So we can reuse this text uppercase up here. We can give it, if we want to, we can just say text uppercase and just do the same thing here, class text uppercase, and then it's just going to change everything to uppercase. Or we can do that in the actual style of the list item, which would be here, which makes more sense in this particular case. So here we just want to say text transform, and we're just going to say uppercase. That being said, it transforms everything to uppercase. And we can just change this to like 10, just see if that works, and it does not work. So instead of playing with the margins, now we are going to have to make this like a 5 and make this a 5. Well, make this a 7. No, it's in reverse. Make that a 5 and make this a 7. There you go. So playing around with this, we're able to convert the theme. At least we got a lot of it. There's also spacing from here to the paragraph and from the paragraph to the button. So that can also be done in the CSS for this particular section, which is the slider content. So if we go back and we say, okay, from the H1, we're going to make some measurements here. We're going to say the bottom of the W to where the font begins, that's 38 pixels. So we can actually, instead of doing a bottom padding, we can actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's say padding bottom for now, 38 pixels, just so you see. So you see it just moved it down. I think it's a lot. So we can remove it. Let's make it 28 pixels, and that looks a little better. And then the same thing for the paragraph. At the bottom of it, we can make that 28 pixels, and it just spaces out the buttons. And now the slider, the actual slider content, we are going to give it, we can either give it some, we can give it a wrapper, MD, just to see what it looks like before we even do that. So here we're going to reuse that class, wrapper, MD. And you see it just pushed it down. So we're just reusing classes. And this is what we came up with so far. I am not going to go through the entire PSD conversion process, but I think you understand the point here. This is how we convert a PSD to HTML and CSS. All right, I'll see you in the next video.